Hello, my name is Tristan Gillette, and this is my first video regarding my 3D printed HLS 273. This is approximately half size. I don't have the original dimensions of the Siren, so I don't know for sure, but I think the diameter of the rotor in this is something like 70 millimeters. It's 4-port. This does not look like your typical HLS 273 because of 3D printing design constraints. I needed to separate this model into 4 or 5 different pieces. These are the first 3 or 4 pieces. It consists of the stator, the chopper, the inner manifold, which separates the chopper from the air coming in, and the lower manifold. This has a 775 DC motor on it, and it's 12 to 24 volts, so it can speed up and actually surpass the original speed of the HLS 273. Right now I only have it running on 12 volts. As you can see, it is on a stand. I made this stand out of 1/2-inch PVC, and I threaded a barbed fitting into it. I used to have a quick connect fitting, but that cut down on the airflow substantially, so I needed to convert to barbed. And I just tried to test it with this air compressor. Unfortunately, it drains the tank far too fast. Previously I was using this giant 28-gallon air compressor, but recently, as I was running it, the flywheel and the fan, they're both one piece, and it's a plastic piece. It decided to just explode. So I can't use that compressor until I could find a new compressor head and possibly build a new assembly to mount on top of the tank. So now here is the run-up. Pretty torquey. Loose connections. So it spins up. Right now it's about 3/4 speed. So you can see the inner manifold I was talking about. Not really, but inside of here, okay, that works. So you can see it down there. It doesn't move, and that's because it's just a stationary. Essentially what it does is it's stationary, and it allows less air to contact the chopper, which allows the motor to be smaller. Here you can see the chopper opening, right? This, if my camera will focus, you can go ahead and see there's a second port in there. Essentially, it's basically simplified, it's essentially 2 stators. So you can see the second lip for the second stator in there, and then I could close the chopper. So as far as the airflow concerns, I'm going to need to use the bigger tank. I have not used the bigger tank with the 1/2-inch barb fittings quite yet. So I got to use the bigger tank, and if that still doesn't allow me to get decent runtime, I might need to make the ports smaller. Right now they're smaller than my fingernail, but they still might be too big, because yeah, there's 4 of them. That's a lot of air. I know these suckers, they use a lot of air. The stock size ones, full size, a lot of air. I was a little bit concerned about the tolerances on this one. The biggest aid that helped me with building this, especially to keep the inner manifold centered, is to use essentially to model a lip on the bottom of the part that you want centered, and then model a corresponding negative of that lip onto the part that it's being centered on. So it's essentially, you can think of it like an O-ring gap, except instead of having an O-ring, it's just a circle modeled onto the other piece and it slides in. Right now there are 3 millimeter holes modeled into these plates, to these 2 halves, but they're only 2 millimeters into each side. So I'm going to have to drill out that 3 millimeter hole all the way so it sticks out both sides, And yes, these are not on right. These are off-centered. But I'm going to need to drill a hole through both sides, and then just stick that 3mm rod through. And there's 4 of them on this. That essentially acts like the taper pins that are on the Model 2. The Model 2 uses taper pins to center the stator. So, as far as future plans with this model, I'm going to have the 5th part printed, and it's just essentially going to slide over this stator. It's going to slide over this. It has a corresponding hole in the bottom, so it'll clear this, and it'll slide down. It'll be fastened using super glue, most likely, and then it's essentially going to act as a manifold. It's going to capture the sound coming through here, spit it into a large void similar to the real 273, and it's going to spit the sound out the bottom. It's going to spit the sound out the bottom, and then the horn is going to connect, and it's going to fan out. So this is only a little part of the siren itself. The normal 273, this is all one cast piece as far as I'm aware, except for the chopper, obviously. It's probably not even cast, it's likely machined, but anyway, this is the siren. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out so far. This is the first update, and this will be the last update for a little while until I can go ahead and get something fabricated for this. So that'll be it for now.